Just a 30-second sponsored segment by the Amazon Play Store. You can save upwards of 20% by any purchases made, as long as you do purchase the Amazon coins. I'll leave the links in the description down below if you do want to find out how to save that money. I'll leave the link to the video. But yeah, other than that, we're going to get straight back into the video. Once again, you can save upwards of 20%, and this is sponsored by Amazon, as you'll probably be seeing by a couple other pre-rolls, maybe later this week. And yeah, let's get straight into the video. Germany's heavy tanks are known for one thing: weight. If you look at basically any German heavy tank from tier 7 and above, they almost all weigh a metric ton, or a crapload of metric tons to put it at that. The VK100.01P weighs 120 tons, which is heavier than every other tier 8 apart from the 168, which, as it says in the name, weighs 168 tons. But what's ironic is weight does not equate to armor. The VK100 has way more armor, in my personal opinion, than the VK168. But what's so cool about this vehicle is because your average heavy tank, let's say like an IS-5, IS-3, these vehicles are only weighing about 50 to 40 tons, and that's it. Which means that this tank is over double the weight of any heavy tank that's not German. And even the Germans, you're still about 40-30% heavier than even a Lerva. So because of that, this tank has the ability to take off a huge chunk of hit points on ramming. While it only goes 20 kilometers per hour, it doesn't need speed for what it's capable of doing. It carries the exact same alpha as the tier 10 you try to get, the Mouse. It's got very similar armor to the Mouse, and it's got just an extremely similar playstyle. In fact, if there's any line in the entire game that I would say is great if you want to stick to one singular playstyle, this is the line. When you get to the tier 8, it's basically the same as the tier 9, which would be the Maushen, and the Maushen is basically the same as the tier 10. They all carry the same alpha, all have similar dispersion and aiming time, just gets a little bit better, and all have very poor DPM for the tiers they're in. But that doesn't stop them. In fact, it doesn't stop them even closely. This vehicle has over 2,000 hit points. You heard that right, 2,000. That's basically double that RHM. That guy could shoot me 3 times, and I still have many hit points left to continue shooting him. So yeah, VK armor goes stonks. So here we go, we got the RHM, and by the way, how many shots does it take for me to kill an RHM? Well, let's see how much damage my HE does. Oh, 563, that's right. Yeah, the HE on this tank has 600 damage per shot. 2 shells on that RHM, and he would be dead. This is already turning out to be a pretty good game. We're at 1,000 damage, and I think I did get that blind shot penned on the Panther, but nonetheless, we got our second shell in anyway. So now we're at 1,440 damage on the dot. That Panther 2, he's, yeah, I don't really think he wants to play with me all too much. That's what I love about this tank, and the weight, this is where weight comes into play. I'm going to try and finish off this Panther, but sadly, the shell just went a bit high. But this IS-3 is going to turn his tank to the side. We've already taken 60 off, and that's 130. So we're taking off about 190 already. You'll notice I've tracked him. And what I'm going to continue to do here is I'm going to continue to ram his tank and continue to break his track while damaging his vehicle. We're probably going to take off in total over 300 hit points worth of damage there, and then just not even lose any hit points ourselves. Again, that is what weight is able to do. I wanted to show this replay specifically just because of that ramming maneuver I did there. You don't need to be fast to get away with ramming people. And this tank, as I said, we probably took off about 300. If that was a medium tank, every ram might have been doing 100 damage. Imagine me ramming a medium tank 4 or 5 times plus a shot. That's 1,000 damage in like 8 seconds. It's actually insane how damage-worthy these vehicles can be. When you don't think that you've racked up that much damage, you're then like, sheesh, I didn't realize I rammed 5 people. One slight tap on this tank, one scrape of the paint onto an RHM, and you're taking 200, 300 hit points off. And if a medium tank absolutely touches your vehicle, boom, straight back to the garage. Now, the premium pen on this vehicle is also pretty solid. The standard's about 230 if you're running calibrated, and the premium's about 270, which make this vehicle very flexible on being able to penetrate its opponents. But it does have downsides. The biggest downside is that gun. It's 0.375 something dispersion with, it's terrible. And I think it's over 0.4 if you're not running refined gun. It's one of the most inaccurate tier 8 in the game, and it might be the most inaccurate. Not only does it have that, that's terrible, it's also got like over a 4 or 5 second aiming time. Terrible on that aspect as well. So if you're planning to hit shots in this vehicle from any distance, you're playing it wrong. This is a frontline behemoth. And it kind of teaches you that if you want to hit your shots in these types of tanks, you have to get your booty into the enemy battlefield. Now, that doesn't mean YOLO. That doesn't mean kill yourself. That means know where to position your tank, know how to side scrape, and know what you're doing. What I love about this tank is the armor holds up just as well against tier 9s as it does against tier 7s. The only spots tier 9s can pen are the lower plate, the little bar in between, and as well the turret cheeks and cupola. And basically any tier can pen that, but if you play it correctly, basically any tier can also have a chance of bouncing it. And it feels so good when you get a vehicle like a Maushin or any of those tanks over there to get a bounce on this vehicle itself. The other great thing about this tank fighting tier 9s is the fact that it has 460 damage per shot, which means that when you're up against a vehicle like that Maushin, I deal basically the same damage. In fact, I do. I deal the same damage. In fact, I deal the same damage as some of the highest hitting tier 9 heavies in the game. So because of that, again, it's really strong against any tier. The lower the tier, oh, they're just in for a really rough ride. I've carried 1 versus 4s, 1 versus 5s in this tank because you have the ability against tier 6s, or not 6s, imagine, but against tier 7s that physically can't pen you, they just die. There's a nice roll, half of the ISU's health gone in 1 standard shell. We're at 950 damage, and I was starting to think in this moment, I was like, first of all, this replay is going to be really boring for YouTube if I stay back. So I'm going to push up, I'm going to use my armor and see what I can do. You can say, just angled my turret at the last second there against that ISU 152. And because of that, we got a pretty nice bounce. The Maushin did penetrate me straight into the lower plate. Almost a miss though, as you can see. But either way, this Maushin, he's not enjoying it all too much. I rammed the Maushin purposely, lowering him to a one-shot and finishing him off. So there you go. We finished off the Maushin now because we were able to lower him. There's 1945 damage racked up on my chopping block now. And there's 3 tanks left. We've got the M48 pattern, M46 pattern. Man, I'm losing my mind. To be fair, it is 3:30 in the morning. So, yeah, not good stuff there. But either way, we're doing pretty good. I'm going down the hill now. The only tank that's slower than me is that T95, possibly in any tier. So, yeah. One downside of this tank is the mobility. If you don't like slow tanks, you definitely won't be enjoying this vehicle. But if you wanted to know if the mouse grind is worth it, honestly, I think it's one of the easiest and best grinds in the game. The tier 8, tier 9, tier 10 are all identical, all very similar, and they can do just things like this and rip poor holes into a vehicle like the FCM. You're going to see again that this FCM just slightly taps me on the side. That's 200 hit points gone. That's it. He probably ran me at 20, and he lost 200 hit points. And again, the FCM weighs about 40-50 tons. Imagine what would have happened there if that was a light tank like an FE301 or even a T49. That would have been maybe 400 or 500 hit points gone there. Plus a shot, that's 900 hit points. So there you have it, folks. That's is the VK100.01P. A vehicle I actually really like, and I've always liked. This is a tank I've used in Tier 8 tournaments for fun. It's a great vehicle in general, and I would highly suggest, if you don't even want to get the mouse, just to try this tank, especially if you do participate in tournaments. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and you would like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. But other than that, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!